Good morning. This is Ronald Allen, Managing Change. As you know, most Sundays, our discussion is framed around reflection. Reflection because in many cases, it's the end of a long week, 6 days. Reflection because it's a punctuation, a full stop that we can create, that I have decided to create, where I think back. It's a way of taking my resolution for the whole year and every week taking incremental reflection, review, analysis, diagnose, and see what have I accomplished, what was I not able to, why, what do I need to do to align my behavior, my thoughts, my actions, both with my family, myself, of course, and with what I'm doing. Today's discussion is retreat. And as we are going through a very significant challenge in our own family, I'm using this as a way, again, of identifying what else can we do. I'm always looking for resources. I'm always looking for potential, not just the solution, rather the process. And I have some really great collateral here. I think it's great. That can help us. So let's kind of start off with a definition. I'm going to give you this. This is a prose that I've been fortunate to have given to me by Miriam, my wife, and who I read from time to time because it's on the wall in my office upstairs. And I think you'll find that even when you hear it the first time, like when you see these posts on the different social media sites, you read it and say, wow, great, wonderful, and then we put it to the side. I'm a true believer that you should read, reread. Over time, things have different meanings. Over time, there's a sensitivity. I didn't understand, I didn't quite get it, I didn't hear it, I heard, wasn't listening. So there are grades to our ability to comprehend, be able to adapt, use, execute. As you know, action is everything. And then upon the feedback we get from our actions, we adjust. So allow me just to read off on this. And it's entitled, Don't Quit. And many of you may know this. I bet that you may know it, but how top of mind is it for you? How top of mind do you use it when you're in a pinch? We've got a game going in Philadelphia this afternoon. Do they use this mindset, mentality when it's required the most? When you're under fire, right? You know the expression, metal is forged under fire. Your character is forged when you are under fire. I apologize, I shouldn't be pointing. So, don't quit. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a failure turns about when we might have won had we stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Success is failure turned inside out. It's the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you can never tell how close we are. It may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worst that we do not quit. And you'll notice I use the first person. I know in resume writing, for example, we always use he or she. How archaic, how distancing ourselves from the actual results, the work, the passion, the energy, the effort that we put out. Same thing with this. Make it our own. You heard the expression, own it. Repeat it. Do it, as they say. Just do it. So let's take that information and let's make it real in our lives. What are you going through? What challenges are you going through? Cancer, divorce, loss of a child, a long duration of time that you've been in the quagmire, in the muck, in a funk. Are you giving yourself some time? Unfortunately, in our society, we retreat in. You're still a human being. You still have value. You still have assets. You still have a perspective. You still have to get up in the morning. Many of us don't feel that we should or want to or face the world when we're going through these challenges. It's precisely at this point that your fermentation of character comes about. If you stay in the quagmire, what are you getting? Are you safe? Are you really avoiding that pain, or are you adding? What if you took one action a day, just one action a day, and just promised yourself, to yourself, for yourself? There are people who have gone before us that have experienced similar and more. The similar is what I want to focus on. Here's an image of an individual. They call them Tuskegee Airmen. I didn't know about this until I came to this country, in fact, many years even past that. And what I have taken, what I have learnt, what I have absorbed from the image, the symbolism of what a Tuskegee Airman represents is ultimate stick-to-itiveness. They were good at their profession. They were excellent at their craft. And despite all the animosity, the ugliness that humans can exhibit towards one another, they defended B-52 bombers and those in the Air Force, please correct me, in the Second World War, and to my knowledge, not one was shot down. If we're talking humanity as we go into the Black History Month, as we live our lives, as we try to evolve and elevate the conversation, should we not learn from these kinds of exemplar characters, these voyeurs? That's what not retreating means. You have a tsunami of ugliness coming at you, and you stand firm, like the willow and the oak. The oak, in fact, the baobab tree plants its roots deep, big trunk, huge trunk. You can sometimes even drive a lorry truck in America. You can drive a lorry through it, like those Canadian redwoods. And yet the roots go deep, and the branches reach up and open to the sky. That's how we have to forge our characters. That's how we have to make ourselves. Because life, as we've seen in the last couple of years, and in fact over the last 8 years, can shift from one side extreme to another. And how are we planted? Are our roots deep enough to sustain us? So take your symbolism. And I, by the way, did have an opportunity to interview a group of Tuskegee Airmen, and I'm still looking to get those videos because it is timeless. Forget about the face. Look at the character. Learn from the character. Do not retreat. Do not allow other things outside of you to dictate. It is a life, what do they call that? The Holy Grail. It's a voyage. It's a passion. And we learn from it. I also want to preface this with some information that I acquired, absconded with really, from a project. And it's a saying, right? It's a mantra It's a foible, if you will, and yet it holds true. And I'm gonna anchor this as well once I finish, and I think you'll appreciate this. 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. So they have a prospect, they have contact information, they do an initial outreach, an email, a phone, a letter, a phone call. They never follow up because they think they have the new mousetrap and people should follow them. 25% of salespeople make a second contact and or a stop by, right? Only 25%. So now you're down 75%. 12% of the salespeople only make 3 contacts. Now some of you are already saying, well, I'm not in sales. Hold on to your horses. We're going to do some barrel racing in a minute. Only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. That means if you do 4 contacts, you are head and shoulders above 90% of the prospects that will get what they want. Notice I said get what you want, not the sale. We're doing the barrel racing just about now. Going from the left to the right, moving your body so the horse responds, so that life is coming at us. We are parrying and responding accordingly. 2% of salespeople, 2% of sales are made on the first call, so that's minimal. 5% of sales are made on the third call. We're back to that 3-4. 10% of sales are made on the 4th call. Now to social media, drip campaigns, auto and marketing responders. Hold on. Here's the big finish. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th call. So what if you put in place, whether you're trying to get into a college, whether you're trying to ride a bicycle, whether you're trying to teach your child, when you're working with your significant other, and I am very impatient in that respect. What if you put in place a 13-step outreach? You're looking to get into your church and work with some of the committees. You're looking to go and volunteer on an association, a fraternity, a sorority. And you said to yourself, I am going to make 3 strategic, that's why I call myself a strategic coach, not just a life coach, a strategic coach, because I need to listen and understand what I'm trying to achieve, my objective, how that's going to benefit, because that's going to give me long-term projection, momentum. And then I'm going to put this kind of persistence, not retreating, in place. And I see someone's just joined. Agnes, thank you very much for joining in. Good morning. 80% of not just the sale, but the attainment of our goals are made after the 5th through the 12th attempt. So immediately, instead of coming to the table and saying, oh my goodness, I've got to do so much work, this is going to take a long time, this is going to be hard. That's the perspective many of us bring to the table. We say, I'm going to put in place 13, and I love that number because many people believe that it's a negative. Many buildings do not have a 13th floor, which makes absolutely no sense. Because why? Because then the 14th floor is there you go, finish the sentence. When we talk about not retreating, we're talking about changing our perspective and not reading what hasn't been validated. You know, we talk about litmus test, right? If you learn something and you project it out into the world, what comes back? And when it comes back, are you diagnosing? Are you analyzing? Are you evaluating? Are you doing a risk assessment? We're great in the entity world, corporate world, business world. We need to subscribe to those methods and tenets and perspectives in our personal world. They are one and the same. Many people say so-and-so changes when he's in a suit or she's in a suit dress. Then they're one way, and when they're home, they're another way. Can we align that so that the energy is more fluent? The effort is less of an uphill climb. So we talked about don't quit. We gave you that little pros. We talked about the image. What images do you have in your mind? Through your family, your ancestry, your nationality, your culture. These are the grounding footings, if you will, of how we see life. Now, as we mature, as we become aware, self-awareness, self-efficacy, we need to guide and manage that effort. So I'm just going to read to you a few definitions, which again, broaden. I love to look at the eclectic perspective of things because, and I'll give you a personal example. The other day, talking to a friend, he said, Ron, you think very broadly. Right now, on this particular topic that we were discussing, you're looking like this. You think you're like this, but you're like this. And guess what? There's an even bigger picture. So think of that as a simple exercise. Every time you come to the table of doubt, every time you think this is the end, there are no other recourse to your challenges. This is how you think. This is how you think you're looking at things. And guess what? And in fact, there's an infinite number of possibilities. We have to take this brain and decide that, guess what? Yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm going to release my need to, as people use the word, control. There's no such thing as control. I've used the expression, if the tectonic plates of the earth, you can Google it, guys, come on. The tectonic plates of the earth shift and cause tsunamis, as what happened in Japan, then we need to have a tectonic plate shift in our minds and guide it like a captain on a ship, like a geese. They change partners as they're flying, right? Think about these different seemingly divergent thinking and say, wait a minute, how can I apply that? So retreat, today's reflections, we call it reflections because it's Sunday, is looking back at our week. What did we execute on? How did we execute on? What were the outcomes? How can I improve? Should I bring in another resource? Should I let go of micromanaging? Can I allow other people to carry the load and rock and roll a little longer than I can sustain? Should I take a little bit more of a rest? High performance cars, for example, are 75% under diagnosis and only 25% execution, running. Same thing with sports athletes. Because it's the time that we reflect, it's the time that we think of not retreating and how we don't have to retreat. So let's look at some quick definitions here. The traditional sense of retreat is to withdraw. Well, here's a new one. Quiet, secluded meditation. How beautiful. You can gain ground by taking time out of the confusion, out of the funk that's going on in your head. Very powerful. Withdraw to a quiet and secluded place. Change one's decisions or plans. Many people think of retreating as giving up because we think of it in military terms. What if we took that time to reprogram our game? What are the alternatives? Especially Sun Tzu. And one realization I took from that book was not only because you've executed on something, not only because you've even written down and committed to something, doesn't mean you can't change. Lee Iacocca with steel in America. He was in Japan negotiating steel while we were being told, buy American steel. The 40s and 50s, we were told about communism in Russia, yet American agriculture was buying and selling grain. We have 40-year moratorium in Cuba, yet we have a military base. This is the kind of awareness we need to elevate and then decide how do we want to play our hand. I've always said, and even when I first came to this country, I said, I may not be able to impact the macro economy, but I sure as heck can manage my micro economy. And I've used the expression, I don't want to become Americanized, where I'm on this Pavlov's dog, which even this cell phone, smart devices, really? The smart devices between your ears, in your head. We have to learn and be willing to engage, and retreating and understanding. Another perspective I found from these Google Analytics, which is really powerful, is they show you over time, and this is going from 1800s to the present, how the word has been used or not used. Here's an example. The word so, you hear many people prefacing the beginning of a sentence. It's also annoying. Some people have said, well, I use it to start the new thought. So now that, even though I may not like the use of it, and I don't use it, don't believe I use it, you have to listen carefully to yourself talk, I now understand how some people define its use. So instead of pushback, it just is. Remember, you don't and can't and won't be able to manage 99% of the things that happen in the world. So why fight something that's really not a priority? Right? We retreat. We take a second view. We broaden our understanding and other people's uses of things and why they use it, why they do it. A retreat, what else can it mean? It actually comes from Latin, retare, and it is also Old French. I don't speak French, so I'm not going to try the accent. And then English, of course, retreat. So, today's discussion, reflections, today's reflection, because it's Sunday, I just want to kind of corral. Sunday is a day of reflection. I'm making it my day of reflection. You can make your day Monday. As I've said to people, the week is not Monday through Friday. The week is whatever you make it. And we talked today about retreat in its broadest terms. We talk about symbolism. What does it mean to you? Where did you get that meaning? Does it have to be hard and fast, or are you malleable, pliable to change? Looking at the prose I read to you, don't quit when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill. Use the first person when you use those, because it becomes yours. It becomes more meaningful. Don't use that third party. And most importantly, whether you are going through a massive challenge, which by and large we always are. We may not feel it. We might think we're buffered because of money, because we're just going to college, or we're focusing on one particular thing, or we have parents or loved ones who are protecting us. Trauma is right around the next breath. I live in a town where we have the military, Browns Mills, New Jersey, and we have people living literally in tents and sheds, and we have people in $1-million homes, literally within 1 mile of each other. So use retreat. Don't become reclusive. On the other hand, you certainly don't have to become an extrovert. Definitely not advocating that. And decide for yourself. How do you want the hour, the day, the week, the month, the year to be? And we have that within our means to manage. And even though sometimes we may pull back and feel, I don't have it today, that's perfect. Retreat. Take stock. Analyze. Think. Meditate. Go for that walk. Go for that swim. I used to swim up to 2 miles. My wife would laugh if she heard me saying this because I haven't swum in a while. I get in the zone and I'm literally like a fish. I just keep swimming 2 miles. It's 44 laps each time in an Olympic pool. Find yours. Make it yours. Manage yourself so that your life becomes what you want it to. And encapsulate you as the person, whether you're out in public, whether you're in private. You are who you are, and you can grow, because as humans we have that capability. This is Ronald Allen, Managing Change. You know where to find me.